If there is one story from the world of crime that feels both horrifying and almost absurd, it is the story of Thabo Bester, a man whose life traversed deception, violence, manipulation, and one of the most astonishing prison escapes ever documented. This is not merely the tale of a criminal. It is the unraveling of a personality that weaponized charm as a mask, built his crimes on trust, and ultimately revealed unsettling vulnerabilities in the systems meant to contain men like him. Thabo Bester's life of crime began long before his name ever appeared in headlines. Born in Soweto in June 1986, his early years were marked by instability and trauma. Though records of his childhood are sparse, court testimony later revealed that he had experienced abuse, neglect, and a period of imprisonment in his youth, during which he suffered further violations, experiences he would later reference in mitigation during his own trial. Yet, trauma alone does not make a predator. Something deeper, colder, and more calculated developed within him. By the early 2010s, Bester was actively using social media not for connection, friendship, or community, but as a hunting ground. He earned the chilling moniker, the Facebook Rapist, through a pattern of calculated victimization. On platforms where others saw potential for connection or career opportunities, he saw vulnerability. He posted what appeared to be legitimate offers, modeling contracts, casting calls, career scouts looking for new talent. Women responded. He offered hope, and then he delivered something far darker. His method was deceptively simple, yet insidious. He would lure aspiring models and young women to locations under the guise of providing them opportunity. Once there, the veneer broke, the charm evaporated. Victims were robbed, assaulted, and in one case, murdered. The brutality of these crimes shocked a nation and exposed a predator who understood not just how to manipulate social media, but how to target desires, trust, and hope itself. In 2011, after a string of violent crimes that culminated in multiple convictions for robbery and rape, the net finally tightened. Bester pleaded guilty to several counts of rape and robbery in Durban Magistrates Court, where he delivered a rambling, emotionally charged explanation for his actions. He claimed his criminality sprang from a life of abuse and hardship, narrative elements intended to elicit sympathy or reduction in sentencing. Yet even in that moment, there were hints of a mind attuned more to self-preservation than genuine remorse. But his violence would not end there. In 2012, Bester was convicted of the murder of model Nomfundo Tuhulu, whom he had reportedly invited on a trip under false pretenses. The crime scene, in a guest house room in Cape Town, revealed a brutal killing, executed with a cold and detached precision that horrified investigators. His defense claimed the murder occurred during a struggle, but the severity of the act and the fact that he robbed the victim afterward illustrated a willingness not just to harm, but to dominate and destroy. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, a sentence meant to remove him permanently from society. It was at this point that most criminal stories should end, but for Bester, it was only the beginning of a more surreal phase. Once behind bars in South Africa's Mangaung Correctional Center, a privately contracted maximum security facility in Bloemfontein, Bester continued to display an unsettling ability to manipulate environments. He cultivated admiration from some inmates and visitors, and even began building connections that would later have world-shaking consequences. With intelligence, charisma, and a calculated approach to relationships, Bester turned prison interactions into influence. Then, in May 2022, an event occurred that captured international attention. Reports emerged that a fire broke out in Bester's cell. Correctional officials stated he had sustained fatal burn wounds, and the nation was told that Bester, the Facebook rapist, was dead. Many rejoiced, thinking justice had come full circle. But that narrative did not hold. Months later, as forensic investigations continued, something troubling appeared. Post-mortem examinations of the charred body found in the cell revealed blunt force trauma inconsistent with death by fire, and crucially, no signs of smoke inhalation. both strong indicators that the body had been placed there post-mortem. DNA testing confirmed what many had feared. The body was not Bester's. He had faked his death. The revelation triggered one of the largest manhunts in South Africa's history. Authorities acknowledged the gravity of their oversight and appealed to the public for information. The Department of Correctional Services confirmed that Bester had escaped lawful custody. A conviction, serving life for rape, robbery, and murder, was now a fugitive. The escape itself was no small feat. To everyone who knew him only as a prisoner, the idea that Thabo Bester could stage his own death and vanish invited incredulity. But the pattern of his life, manipulation, deception, calculated charm, now extended into the domain of orchestrated freedom. Investigations revealed that his escape was not conducted alone. At the center of the operation was Dr. Nandipa Magudamana, a high-profile cosmetic surgeon with a significant presence in South African media and on social platforms. Known for her successful practice and glamorous lifestyle, Magudamana seemed an unlikely accomplice, yet evidence later indicated she had been deeply involved in the escape plan. Some reports suggested she had visited Bester regularly while he was incarcerated for years. Over time, their relationship transcended ordinary visitor-inmate interactions, and Magudamana allegedly utilized her resources, both personal and professional, to assist him. Friends and acquaintances of Magudamana later described her as having become consumed with Bester, blind to the danger that he represented and the implications of her own actions. The mechanics of the escape were chilling and meticulous. A body, now believed to belong to a different man, was smuggled into Bester's cell, a fire set, and official reports broadcast to the world that he had died. Behind the scenes, however, Bester slipped away, aided by accomplices, and re-emerged under an alias, T.K. Nkwaba. There, in Johannesburg's affluent suburbs, Magudamana and Bester built a lifestyle that would mask their status as fugitives for months. In that period on the run, the duo lived a life of startling contrast to Bester's imprisonment. They rented a mansion in Sandton, an upscale district known for its luxury homes and high society. They socialized, dined, traveled, and even initiated fraudulent business operations, including a construction company that promised lucrative projects but delivered none. Reports suggested they conned millions of rands from clients who believed in the legitimacy of their enterprise. Yet living in plain sight proved unsustainable. Photos and videos began circulating, Bester and Magudamana at malls, attending events, seemingly ordinary residents updated on social media. These glimpses ultimately alerted authorities that the man believed to have died was alive and thriving under a false identity. By early 2023, law enforcement agencies, in cooperation with international partners, tracked the pair beyond South Africa's borders. They were located in Tanzania, arrested discreetly, and extradited back to face justice. The return to custody was both a closure to their flight and an opening to renewed legal battles. Upon their return, Bester faced not only the life sentence he had originally been serving, but additional charges for fraud, defeating the ends of justice, violating a corpse, and more. Magudamana was charged with aiding and abetting his escape, as well as other related offenses. The legal proceedings continue, illustrating a complex web of compliance, conspiracy, and betrayal. The story of Beauty and the Bester reverberated beyond courtrooms. A Netflix docuseries of the same name brought the case to an international audience, exploring not only the crimes and the escape, but the psychology, relationships, and systemic failures that allowed such an audacious plan to unfold. Viewers encountered interviews with journalists who covered the case, experts who tried to understand Bester's motives, and insights into how a charismatic criminal could manipulate the world around him so effectively. Critics of the series noted that while some narrative elements felt dramatic, the core of the story remained profoundly real. A man trusted on social networks used that trust to harm others, then leveraged connections and manipulation to evade justice briefly and nearly rewrite the end of his life. In the end, Bester remains behind bars, a fugitive recaptured, a master manipulator contained once more.
Magudamana, now awaiting her own judicial resolution, faces a drastically different future than the one she had once envisioned, and the victims, families, investigators, and wider public are left to grapple with the profound ramifications of a crime spree that tested legal systems, social perceptions, and the fabric of trust itself.